Hi, welcome to the Musical Homestead. My name's Jenny. It is theory time, woohoo! Today I'm super excited because we are learning about the musical alphabet. It's a lot of fun. Let's get started. We have made it to Unit 3 in our elementary theory track. That is geared towards our kindergarten through 5th grade learner. If you're in 6th grade or above, you need our Theory Musica Track. I'm gonna link that in the description below. You wanna do Unit 3 in that track. We have already learned in Units 1 and Units 2 so many things with our notes and how the staff is laid out with our lines and spaces, a lot of really good information. Today I'm so excited because we are going to be learning about the notes. That is what we need to be able to do to play our instrument, play the piano or any other instrument. I get really excited when we start talking about the musical alphabet, so I hope you're excited too. You need to make sure that you have your textbook, which is a Fundamentals of Piano Theory. If you don't, you want to get that. I'm going to link that in the description below. Make sure you've done Units 1 and 2, and then we're going to get started and learn some note names today. Since you were little, you have learned the alphabet. Now, there are 26 letters in the alphabet, and we know how to do the alphabet song. Today, we're going to learn about the musical alphabet, and it's a little bit different than the alphabet you already know. So I'm going to sing a little song. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Did you notice what was different? You're right, I only sang up to G, and then when I got to G, I started repeating. That's because the musical alphabet only has 7 letters, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Once we get to G, we repeat again, and we go over and over and over again. Do you think you're ready to sing our new alphabet song with me? Let's give it a try. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, 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 A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Great job! Now you know the musical alphabet. Let's figure out how that works into the grand staff. Now we spent some time, we've learned the musical alphabet, and we've sung our musical alphabet song. We're going to talk about where they fall on the piano. I want to show you some patterns here. What I like to say is we have 2 black keys. So we say by the 2 black keys are C, D, E. Can you say that with me? By the 2 black keys are C, D, E. And the really cool thing is that by these 2 black keys, it's C, D, E. By these 2 black keys, it's C, D, E. By every 2 black keys, you're always going to find C, D, and E. By the 3 black keys are F, G, A, B. And once again, by the 3 black keys are F, G, A, B. I think you see the pattern. We're going to have F, G, A, B by all of our groups of 3 black keys. Go to your piano and find that and play that. And then come back and join me, and we are going to learn all the lines and the spaces on our grand staff. Now that we know all of the notes in the musical alphabet, we have A, B, C, D, E, F, and G. And we also know that every staff has lines and spaces. We are going to learn all of the line names. In Unit 2, we learned that this is number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, and number 5 when we were talking about lines. Today, we're going to learn that every line has a note name that is corresponding to that line. So let's learn it. I'm excited. We're going to start with this clef. What clef is this? This is the Trouble Clef. I hope you got that right. We learned how to draw that a little while ago. The first note we're going to start with is middle C. Middle C is this one right here on my shortened piano, and it's going to be in the middle of your piano when you get to go and play on your piano. Now, if you're going to notice, middle C is a line note, but it's not one of our 5 lines that are on our Trouble Clef. Middle C has this little line going through it, and it's called a ledger line. A ledger line helps extend the staff. They can go below the staff or above the staff, and we're going to learn more about that later. But that's something that we see with our middle C. So here's the C that's right here. Now, line 1 in our Trouble Clef is always going to be our E line. And it's going to be this E right here that's above middle C. Line 2 is always going to be our G line. And it's going to be this G right here. Line 3 is our B line, and it's this B. Line 4 is our D line, and it's this D. And then our last line, line 5, is our F line, and it's going to be that F. If you had a half note on our 5th line, anywhere in your music, anywhere, you're always going to play this F that's above the middle C. If you had, I don't know, a quarter note on middle C and it was at the beginning of the song or the end of the song, anywhere, it's always going to mean that you play this C. That's what we have to start memorizing, and here's some ways to do it. We're going to talk about flashcards later. That can help you. Another thing that helps, another tool, is to come up with a sentence that helps you remember it. So maybe we're going to start with E. We're going to say, every good bear deserves fudge. You can do anything you want as long as you use all of these letters in this order. Don't get them mixed up. So I want you to take a minute and I want you to come up with a sentence that will help you remember all of the line notes in the treble clef. I'm wondering what sentence you came up with to help you remember all of the line notes. There's no right or wrong. It's whatever will help you remember the notes, because you're the one that has to memorize the notes and has to be able to play them quickly when you're doing your instrument. Now we're going to move on to the space notes, and before we talk about coming up with a sentence to help you remember, I want you to notice and see if you can see the word that's hiding right here. The space notes, the first 4 space notes, or the 4 space notes that are on the treble clef, spell the word face. Now I've also added the space that's below the treble clef and the space that's above the treble clef. The space that's below the treble clef is D, and the space that's above the treble clef is G. But the main 4 spaces on our treble clef spell the word face. That'll be easy to remember. We don't have to come up with a sentence, just remember the word face. Another way I like to remember this is the treble clef is on top of the bass clef, which we'll see when we do our grand staff, and our face is at the top of our body. So that helps me remember that my treble clef spaces are always going to spell the word face. This is D down here, and it's going to be this D that's right by middle C. This is F, the first space, and it's this F right here. The second space is A, and it's this A right here. The third space is C, this one here. The 4th space is E, and it's this one here. And then, like we talked about, this space right here that's above the treble clef is going to be this G right here. Now you know all of the lines and the spaces for the treble clef. Now we're going to move on to the bass clef. It's time to move down to the bass clef. Now, if you notice, I moved my word middle over here because we are doing from middle C below. Our bass clef always represents the notes below middle C, and our treble clef represents the notes above middle C. So we have gone below middle C, we're in our bass clef, and we're going to do our line notes. Can you spot one note that uses a ledger line? You're right, it's over here. It's our middle C. Our middle C is going to be this C right here. Now wait a second. When we did the treble clef, there was a ledger line below the treble clef that I said was middle C, and I said it was this middle C. If you picked up on that, you're right. Both of them are middle C, and when we do the grand staff, I'm going to explain how that works. For now, this middle C right here is going to be on this ledger line that is right above our bass clef. So let's name all of the lines in our bass clef. Line number 1 is now going to be our G line. Line number 2 is going to be our B line. Line number 3 is going to be our D line. Line number 4 is going to be our F line. Line number 5 is going to be our A line. And then we have this little ledger line, which is going to be our middle C. Once again, notice that our letters are going every other note. So we're skipping a note in between. And we're doing all of the lines starting from down at the very bottom of the staff and working our way up. Once again, to help remember it, we got to come up with a sentence. Any sentence you want will work. We could have our bears again. Good bears do fine always. That might work. Any sentence you want to come up with that uses all of these notes in this order. That's what we're looking for. So spend some time now coming up with a really cool sentence that will help you remember all of those notes. Now we just have to learn the spaces on the bass clef, and we've learned all of the notes on our grand staff. Are you excited? I'm kind of excited. No, I'm really excited. Now, if you notice, once again, we have our skips. So we have F to A to C to E, and we're skipping all these notes in between, which is kind of cool. Also, what we're going to do is we're going to start on the space that's below the first line, and we're going to go all the way to the space that's above the fifth line. Our space down here that is below the bass clef is going to be F. And if you notice, middle C, we're 2 Fs below where that middle C is. Our first space on the staff is going to be A. Our second space is going to be C. Our third space is going to be E. Our fourth space is going to be G. And then the space that's above the very last line is going to be B. Got to come up with another sentence. Usually what we do for sentences is we're going to do the spaces that are on the staff. So we have A, C, E, G. We could say all cows eat grass. Oh, another one I've always heard is all cars eat gas, which is kind of true. Any sentence you want to come up with that uses all of these in the right order, whatever works for you, because we have to memorize these, we have to get them stuck in our head. And now you know all of the notes on the grand staff. Let's see what that looks like when we put them all on the grand staff together. Now we get to talk about all of the notes on the grand staff. And what I've done is I've made some piles or stacks of our notes. So we have all of the line notes on the bass clef and all the space notes on the bass clef. And the middle C we're going to talk about in a second. All the space notes on the treble clef and all of the line notes on the treble clef. We've learned all of them, but now we're going to look at them in kind of a different way. Remember when we talked about middle C, how we noticed that middle C was both on our treble clef and our bass clef? Middle C is right in the middle of these two staffs. And this ledger line shows us that it's directly in the middle. So we have this D right here, then we have this C, and then we have this B. Middle C can either go with the treble clef or with the bass clef. One thing I like to say in my studio is we pretend that we turn the vacuum on, and when the bass clef wants it, it vacuums it and it's closer to the bass clef. And when the treble clef wants it, it turns its vacuum on and it sucks it up to the treble clef. When you start looking at your music, you'll notice that middle C is always going to be a little bit closer to the treble clef or a little bit closer to the bass clef. And there's a reason for that, and we'll learn that as we go along. This is one way you can help remember and practice all of your sentences. So if we're doing great bears do fine always, or all cows eat grass, and then remember middle C, middle C. And up here we have F-A-C-E. Remember how I told you this is our face? And I remember this. Sometimes we try to get confused and we might think, well, this is an F down here. But really the F's up here, and our face is at the top of our body, just like the treble clef is at the top of the grand staff. And then our lines, every good bear does fine, or whatever sentence you have come up with. That is one way that you're going to help remember this. And the next way, they're going to be flashcards. And we're going to talk about that coming up here shortly. Well, now we know that every line and every space on the grand staff has a note name. That's pretty cool. We got to get really good at finding those notes and being able to identify them quickly. So we have to practice, practice, practice. First, make sure you do all the pages in your textbook. That's the first place to start with practicing. Next, you need to pick up some flashcards. I'm going to link them in the description below. Flashcards are a great way to get good at your note naming. Kind of like when you do your math facts and you have your math flashcards. Now you're going to have some musical flashcards. There's a lot of fun ways to get better at your note naming. And here at the Musical Homestead, we have some fun games. And I'm going to link those in the description below. Play some of those with your friends, with your parents. That's going to help you get better at your note reading as well. Ooh, I almost forgot. Here in our Musical Homestead studio, I really enjoy an app, and I'm going to link that in the description below. We have a lot of fun playing that one to get better at our note reading. It takes a lot of practice, but if you do a little bit each day, before you know it, you're going to get all these notes down, and you're going to be playing the piano, and it's going to be amazing. You're going to have so much fun. Before you go, do me a favor and click the subscribe button and turn the bell on so you don't miss any of our fun games and activities. I think we're almost ready for Unit 4. We're going to be doing some rhythm, so that's going to be fun. I can't wait to see you next time. Until then, have fun learning music.